Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Very fine, sir.
All right, sir. No problem, sir.
Today we are supposed to have, based on what I'm looking at in the curriculum right now, we are supposed to be looking at how to get images. That's what's on our curriculum for today. So, that's what I'm going to be walking you through today, how to get images for the designs and all that. And I'm going to try and make it simple enough for you to be able to grasp. So, particularly we are going to be looking at using pictures in your design, how and where to get pictures. So let me share my screen. Can you all see my screen right now?
Not yet, sir.
Yes, sir. We can, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
We can see it now.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let's look through the entire internet, and I'm going to try and pull out where you can find images to use in your designs. So last week we looked at the shortest of getting images. Am I correct? Today I'm going to introduce you to a couple of new tools, a couple of places that you can find images. So let's read them out of my head right now. So the first one is going to be Unsplash. The next one is going to be Mixkit. The next one is going to be just hold on. I want to open everything down, and then I'm going to start walking through everything for you one after the other.
Sorry, sir. Your voice is not as clear. I don't know.
Say what?
Your voice is not as clear.
It's not as clear. How is it sounding?
Yeah, I think it's better.
I can't even not do anything, so the betterment is just from here, not from here. Okay, so where to get images that you can use in your designs? First place is on Splash. Can you see my screen right now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
First place is on Splash. So let's say you want to download any images. Let's say you are looking for pictures related to technology. You can come to So this is where to pick images. So as you may observe, I just click on technology and you can see as many interesting images as possible. They are all free to download. Okay, so you may not always have to go through all the stress of images before you find it, and then you go through all the stress that we went through last week. Let's actually fetch images. So this is method. So this is, let's say, number one. So I think I like this one. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
You can click on download free here, and if you want to choose sizes, you can choose the sizes from these different sites here. But naturally, I always like to use the original or the widest, the biggest size. That's what I always like to use. So that's that for Unsplash. Second place you can get pictures is mixkit.co. Sometimes you easily find pictures, but look through very well, you'll actually find. And especially if you work on what should I call it now? So if you look at this side here where you have arts, or let's say relationships, it's down here. So you will see the, can you see images now?
Yes, sir.
So you can always pick images from there. And lately, it's been more of an illustrative kind of design. It's what has been running between last year and now. So the third place that I'm going to recommend to you, and this is a secret of designers, and it's called freepik.com. freepik.com. Are you with me? Can you see this also?
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so when
Yes,
you
sir.
want to download here, you can always filter your items by coming to this side of the screen, by clicking on filters. You can choose vectors, you can choose photos, you can choose Photoshop, you can even choose icons. So let's say we want to design something for, Sterling Bank, and it has to do with their bots. So let's say automation. So I've just typed automation. You can see all the different results is showing up. You can always select the type of results you want it to show. So you can choose vectors, you can choose photos. So if I choose photos here now, it's going to sort it by itself. Can you see the difference now? So you can always sort that for you, and you can look through, and then pick the ones that you would like to download. Now for Freepik, some of their items are paid, and some of them are free. So for example, for this one with this crown here, it's a paid tool. So if you want to download it, if you click on it, it's going to pop up on your screen like this. It's going to say download Go Premium. So sometimes rather than clicking download Go Premium, you can simply right click and save the image. That way you are still using the image. Do you get it now? But my best recommendation would be for you to actually click download, because clicking download will result in better images. So this time around, let me choose PSD, and choosing PSD here now, you can see all the different things I brought up for automation. In case my voice is not as the regular type, please bear with me. We'll get through this, okay? And you can also choose icons as well. So you can choose icons, you can choose anything. That's the second, that's going to be the third way to get fast. The fourth will be Morgue file. And the Morgue file is called morguefile.com. You can search photos up here, or you can simply just scroll down and you see all the different photos they have and you can pick anyone from here. So you can look at all their, so let me close this one here. You can pick from all of their library here, and so let me search for same automation. So it says can't find a photo, make a request. So let's say business. So you see, it's saying you can't find photos, that you use the ones beneath. So what they then do is, rather than just be caught in the trap of not being able to find images, you just scroll and scroll and scroll through. So let's say you like this image. If you click on it, it's going to open up, and you can simply just click download. So that's it with mug files. And then the next one is pixels. We already talked about this earlier on. How many of you already know pixels, please?
Hi, sir. Hi, sir.
Great. And then we also know Pixabay, right?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes.
Amazing. So let me open up Photoshop. Let's download one of the images, and then we will get into working with one of them. At this point, let me open up. So I wasn't here earlier on, even though I joined when the class started. I want to find out, have you all been assigned brands to work with? Have you been assigned yet? Have you been
Not
told
yet,
brands
sir.
that you work with? But you've
Not
been
yet,
told
sir.
what?
Yeah,
Mr.
not
Mike,
yet. He's saying we'll do that before the end of the day.
But you've been told what you will need to do, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so it's just to assign the brands now. Okay, at this point, let me give each person a brand at this point. So I'm just going to be scrolling through the names, and then I'm going to be assigning one after the other. So it's actually going to be a lot challenging because I may not know the names that I have assigned a brand to yet, but it's all right.
Sorry. Nikolai. So the plan is we have a document that everybody's name is on, and everybody has been assigned to brands. So everyone is going to get the document, and you check for your name on the list. So document is going to be dropped by 4 p.m. once it has been approved. So I think we can just go ahead with a brand, like a general brand for everybody. Then everybody breaks out to their own brand once they get branded.
Okay, but in the document I have here, there is no names. They are only just brands.
No, that's a different document. That's a different document.
That's what?
That's a different document.
Oh, interesting.
There's a different document that has the names of all the participants and the brands they are working with.
Okay, we'll talk about that. But it might create confusion for me, not being able to see what each person is going to work on. So hopefully that's going to be shared with me. Am I correct?
Yeah, sure. It will share. Sure.
So, thanks for the clarity. Photoshop is loading. Between last week and now, I gave you a couple of assignments for everyone to do. I've actually looked through everybody's assignments, and while some people have really done well, some people really need to improve what they are doing. Some designs are impressive, some are very unimpressive, and some are fairly unimpressive. But I must say that everybody is trying, and I believe that we are all trying at different levels that we are. I personally don't expect you to be doing designs of somebody who's been designing for 10 years in just 2 weeks. So it's not like I have high expectations for everyone, but at least there's a principle called the Marion Effect, which means that the higher the expectations you have for a group of people or for a person, particularly when it comes to a workplace and even in education, that is the expectations you have of people will kind of determine the level to which they perform. So personally, my own expectations of everybody in this class is high. Now when I say high, I mean high. But then my expectations are not just arbitrary, they are not just bogus and in the sky like that. I don't have utopian kind of expectation for everybody. I am being realistic, knowing that I don't expect some of you to be able to do designs that some big, that somebody who's been practicing for many years, the designs that the person will be doing. But again, I don't expect you to do mediocre kind of jobs. So with the introduction of the brands that is going to be assigned to everybody now, I believe now is the time for everyone to become more serious and more intentional with how you actually create your designs. Now, at this point, let me look through the curriculum again, because there's a part in the curriculum where we are supposed to talk about, sorry, please. By Friday this week, you are going to be submitting designs for your case study brand. So in case you are still thinking, okay, so by Thursday actually, your designing for your case study brand, it takes full effect. So from today, my recommendation will be for you to begin to quickly work on the things you need to work on. And based on some of the questions and some of the designs that's inside the group, I think I should add something to our class today before I jump into Photoshop. So let me quickly add something to what I just shared with you, to the tools I just shared with you just now. Let me add something to that. I can't even see. Okay. So, and I'm glad I already mentioned it in the class. So let me just touch on that. Okay, can everybody see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Sir.
Yes, sir.
Good. For those of you who have been asking where to get fonts, I'm glad that somebody shared this inside the group, thatfont.com. But what I'm going to recommend to you will first of all be to come to some of you may need to study a tool like this to understand how to actually combine fonts. Font combinations I've been seeing don't look very professional, and sincerely, I wouldn't like you to take your fonts. We call fontpair.co, that is, you are pairing fonts. Fontpair.co. This tool allows you to see fonts that have been paired already, and then you can go ahead and download the fonts and say, okay, this kind of font, this particular type of brand. Probably may remember that last week or so, or maybe I think it was 2 weeks ago when we were working on Canva, when I was adding fonts to Canva, I mentioned that there was a particular font that it was Heritage Bank that gave me, because that's the only font that's allowed in their designs. And so when I was working on Heritage Bank designs again, they gave me to use. Can you remember I mentioned that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You did. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. You did.
So if you are working on such designs and then you are using the font that you like in the way that you like, you'll probably be going off brand, and many brands will not find that interesting. How do you use fontpair.co? These will particularly be useful for companies that currently don't have like a strict position on their fonts, so to say. And when you choose fonts, you want to stick to certain fonts for certain organizations. So for example, I have been working on an organization for the last 1 to 2 years now. All of their designs, whether it's the flyer, whether it's their website, whether it's their courses, maybe it's even their presentation slides, all their fonts, basically, in fact, same colors, same font, that's what you find everywhere. Do you get it now? That creates some form of consistency of branding. Do you get it now? Rather than being jumping from one font today to another font tomorrow. So you might want to study fontpair.co. So let's say sans serif. Let's say you want to use display like sans serif. Display are those type of fonts that are very, very bold. So they are those type of fonts that you see something like what you have on screen right now. This patois, this could be a display type of font. So you might just want to pay attention to look at how fonts are combined on this website. And if you want to get the fonts, you can simply just come to the font download. On this website, there are about 52,000 fonts, if I'm correct. Okay, I think I can see it on their screen right now. There are about 52,000 fonts, many of which are available for free. So you can just download fonts here. My recommendation will be, again, for you to stick to certain fonts for your own branding sake, for your own professional work. Personally, I don't use many fonts for, no matter how many people I'm designing for. There is a particular font that is found in almost all of my designs, particularly in the last 2 years. Every design I do for anybody, there's a font that is still that you will see there. Instead, I use the fonts to just put one single information. That font is kind of peculiar to me in some ways, in the sense that it's color, in the sense that the font is something that I've installed on my laptop, and so anytime I'm designing for anybody, that's what I try to use, even when I'm working with the organization's font. So again, based on this, I hope that you learn to maximize all of these to your own advantage. So let's get back to Photoshop. And as I mentioned earlier on, today we are looking specifically at using pictures in your design. So this is where we now begin to do what's called picture blending, merging pictures together, doing all kind of magic with pictures. So for example, please can you all see my screen?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
I don't know, did anybody notice me in class by 1 o'clock today? Did anybody notice I was in class by 1 o'clock today?
Yes, sir. Of course. Yes, sir.
Okay. At that point, what do you see then?
Yes, I saw you had a tape rule around your neck or something.
Okay. Did you see me wearing glasses then?
Yes, a dark shade.
Okay. I just wanted to be sure that some of you saw me earlier on in class.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. So I'm going to scrap all these pictures and we are going to kind of start everything from scratch this week. I'm glad to see what some of you were able to do, including what you did even on Friday. And that is very, very good. Let me look for a picture here on this mod file. This mod file is pretending to us that it doesn't want to work. So let's look at how to work with pictures today. And I don't know, but I don't want to. So I'm caught in between two things. I don't want to use professional pictures from professional places. I'm thinking. Well, anyway, let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what we can do. Okay, so let me sort through all this.
Remaining. Dial star 606 hash for airtime. My airtime directly from your bank.
I want to find a picture here. I'm not looking for videos, so I'm not seeing videos.
Yes.
Okay. I prefer I use a non-readily edited picture so that everything is workable from scratch. So what we will be doing here is, let's say you want to design something for, and at this point I want to try and do so let me create my new file. Again, you can always choose your sizes. Because I have pre-made sizes here already inside Photoshop, and people just going to come use one of them. And then I'm going to choose this one, knowing that it's going to be the size for social media. Now for this particular design here, what I want to do is I want to work with pictures, and I want to do a couple of things that you can do to pictures. Maybe anytime you are creating a design and the picture doesn't particularly fit what so let me look for pictures on my system instead. So my laptop is kind of freezing. Just please hold on. Okay, so let's work with this image here. I'm going to drag this image into Photoshop, and okay, I'm waiting for it to load. Okay, cool. So at this point I can expand the image and now, can anybody notice anything?
The image is distorting.
The image is being distorted, right?
Yes, sir.
This is what I was trying to explain to everyone last week, that you don't do something like this when you are working with your pictures. I still saw it in the design that some of you did over the weekend. I think I saw 1 or 2 persons whose image was distorted. One was the background. Second was, I think, the picture that was used. I think the person was trying to replicate. What's the name? Sterling, Standard Chartered. I think the person was trying to replicate Standard Chartered, and so the person distorted the picture in the background. And the moment I saw it like this, I was like, what? But again, the person may be pardoned because I have not shown you on screen. But I've mentioned that before, that you should never try and distort any image no matter what happens. It's best to actually drag the picture in. Once the picture is dragged in, the best you do is you hold down your alternate key, and then so alternate key lets you expand in any direction. Even without holding alternate key, it still expands. But the moment you hold down shift key, for example, among windows. So you can see Shift key. Can you see what Shift key is doing? Shift key made it flexible, and now you can basically just distort it anyhow you like. So I'm going to recommend, please never distort any image no matter what you are doing. Now, first thing first, I'm going to apply this transformation. Yes, please go on.
What you just said now about the Shift key, not distorting or distorting the image, I think it is relative to the version of Photoshop. From Photoshop,
yes,
from Photoshop 2019, the Shift key actually distorts it.
Yes, I'm using 2019.
Okay.
Yeah,
For versions before that, for versions before that, I think they would have to use the Shift key.
Okay, thank you for adding that.
Thank you, sir.
Now, let's say this picture, is unedited, but let's say the goal here is not actually to edit this picture. What I want to do is show you some of the things that you can actually do when you are working with pictures. And in this case, first thing that I can do is this picture is snapped in a place where all the color is white. When I was accessing, I think it was Roblecon's design on Friday, there was a swipe of colors on a cloth. A side was blue, a side was, I think, white or so. On the picture where she sat down and she was. So you can also add those swipe manually to your pictures. And the way to do that is simply, first of all, you create a new layer. After you've created a new layer, the next thing you want to do is you want to select maybe something like your brush tool. So you want to select your brush tool. Something on my laptop and I'm expecting it to work. Okay, cool. So first thing you want to do is you want to select your brush tool, and then up above this side you want to increase your brush tool. You want to increase the size to, let's say, 2000, maybe 5000 or something, depending on whatever size you choose. In this case I want to use 2005. So 2005, and you can see that the size is very big. Do you notice that the size is very big?
Yes, sir.
So now with this 2000 size, knowing that I have already selected the layer, I'm going to choose color, and then I'm going to choose a blue light. So what I want to do is I want to fill out the blue light, and then I'm going to pour the blue light on R. Then I'm going to select another color. So let's say this color, I want to make it maybe a green light, and then I want to fill the green light here. Now what I can then begin to do is to use blend mode. At this point I can begin to use blend mode to adjust what I will be having. But again, in the week that is, maybe I think let me look at it, that should be on Wednesday, we will go fully into blend mode. So one of the things I can easily do is to use Now, can anybody notice what's happening on screen right now? The fact that I'm moving over the blending mode. Did you notice what's happening?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Awesome.
So you can always adjust pictures to fit the lighting of that design. That is why this is important. So let's say you are designing something for a color where you need. So somebody used my picture to create a design, and the lighting of my picture was completely different from the type of background that he was trying to create. So I saw that as well, and I thought, wait, if this person probably knew how to balance this lighting, this person may have been able to adjust that so that it just fits well. So if I change it to this, now look at the original lighting. Can you see the original lighting? Can you see this right now?
Yes, sir.
And in comparison to this,
Way better.
so this kind of calms down the entire color on screen. Sometimes this may not work for you in the sense that you may have to kind of do manual edit for your picture. You might have to do that sometimes, but a lot of times this way can simply just answer your query and get your work sorted out. Now, having done that, another tool, another thing I can show you when you are working with pictures is, let's say we want to do dual or double exposure. And some of you may probably already know what double exposure is. So let me bring in a picture. Let me bring in a picture. Okay, in this case, I'm going to open the picture of a baby, and I'm going to try and start it from scratch. And hopefully, I hope if this goes into a video, it's not going to be flagged. I hope it's not going to be flagged. So my file is trying to load right now. Just please hold on. Have you finished? It's done. So now open it. Then open with Photoshop. And sometimes if you have background though, sometimes you can also use background as your overlay. You can use background in a way that it's going to simply help you blend that in. So this is going to be picture too. So this time as a layer. Now, using the same blending, I can simply start to do something like this. Are you seeing what's happening? Can you see what I'm doing, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Of course, this will only be when you are doing a magical design. And to be honest, sometimes you may not even do magical design in maybe 2-3 months, because it's not every time you need to do that manipulation. So for this, okay, let's work with some tools here. Let's try and work with some tools here. So let's just put a polygonal lasso tool. Let's take out this lady's background. Let's take out this lady's background. My feather is 0, so I need to first of all correct that. I'm taking 3. This is uneditable because it's a smart object. In that case, I'm going to rasterize layer and then delete that. My belief is that you know what I did just now. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
That's what so I want to do something that's faster. Who knows the tool that I'm using? What's the name of this tool?
Magnetic lasso tool.
By the way, the problem with this type of tool is the fact that sometimes it selects what doesn't need to select. So 3, and then that's done. Problem number 1, the edges are still showing. I know right at the top you might not see it, but if you place that on that lady and you zoom in, can you see the edges of the lady's hair?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So that's one of the things that I also notice when I use this. But that should not be a problem. You can always take it out eventually. So in order to take that out, you can simply just that taken care of remains the one another. Okay, I'll come back and do shortcuts to remove that. But for now, let's finish up this part. Then let's take up all this side address. So that's that for that. And then let's be sure that what we are doing is what we are meant to be doing. So now I'm going to go to, I can actually use the magic wand tool and I can just use the magic wand to select everything and then adjust it to fit. If you wonder what am I doing, I'm simply using my shift key to add more to what I am trying to select on the screen so that it goes closer and then so that it goes closer to the lady's skin. Okay, at that point, that's not what I want to select. That's already out of the equation. So this point here, what I can do is, let me add this edge here. At this point, let me add feather, and then the feather I can make it maybe 5 this time around, and then let me delete 2. And let's see if the edges are clear, shall we? Let's zoom in and see. Okay, now the edges are clear, even though it's rough, it's not as perfect as I want. In this case, I'm going to use that and bring this lady back. Let's move this to a side. Now, one of the things that I can do here is the edge size is not the same thing. Can you observe that? So I can come to edit, I can choose my free transform and then adjust the size so that the edge size is the same thing. The edge size is the same thing. Okay, at this point, get to look the same. This is where I can now begin to use my tool here to try and make them blend and then cut off the remaining parts that I don't want. So if you again, I can also use maybe my polygonal lasso tool to trace out the remaining parts that I don't want. So I can blend the heads in a way that the lady is looking backwards and is still looking forward at the same time. You know all those funny things people see, especially online. So those are the ways to create that. Now at this point, please let's go on a quick break. We'll resume by 3 o'clock, and then hopefully we'll resume by 3 o'clock. Let me go and do some things to myself, and then come back by 3 o'clock. Is that okay? So by 3 o'clock we'll resume back from our break, and then we'll dive deeper into everything we've been looking at here. So please take a walk around, stand up, go drink water. I'm actually going to go and pick water myself, and also to go and put myself in a better state of mind. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone.
Hello, sir.
Okay.
Hello,
Good.
sir. Good
Hello, sir.
afternoon.
Hello, sir.
Yes,
Hello, sir.
I am back. Oh,
Okay.
sorry. Apologies for coming a little. I think this should be about 6 minutes later than 5 o'clock, than 2 o'clock. Okay, so does anybody have any questions so far? I know you might not have questions, but maybe there were challenges you experienced even last week that you might want to ask me. Are there any questions you want to ask? Maybe you encountered anything last week.
Yes, sir. I have a question.
sir.
I have a question, sir.
Okay. David, go on first.
Okay, sir. From the assignment you gave, the one that has black diamond executive, I had a little bit of challenge in getting 3D in Photoshop. The 3D effect on the text. Please, can you shed more light on how to get that, sir?
On how to
get the 3D effect on the text.
The 3D effect.
Yes.
Okay.
The extrusion.
No problems. I'm going to touch on that.
Hello, sir.
Voila. Thank you. Go on, Khalid, ask your
Yes,
question, please.
This is
all right,
back.
sir. Okay.
I thought somebody wanted to ask a question. Khalid,
yeah.
do you want to do something?
Yes. I wanted to ask a question as well, or I needed you to put me through something. The assignment Mr. Micah sent. He sent a picture of chattered that standard chattered picture that had one man pointing to a phone. There was this effect underneath that man that seems to like blur the man with the background. Like it has this white blur underneath the picture there. So like an effect. I've been trying to replicate that effect, but I've not been able to get through to do it at all.
Okay, thank you. So who else has another question? And interestingly, I'm glad that you're asking these questions because they are kind of pointers to the working with images that we are supposed to work on today. So the next question, I'm hearing somebody's voice. Please go on and ask.
Yeah. And when you brought the picture in today, the first time you brought it in, the layer was normal layer. It did not change to smart layer. Then when you deleted it and brought it in again, it turned to a smart layer. So the problem I have while I was working the weekend was any picture I bring in, it turns to a smart layer. I don't know why. I have to go and rasterize first before I can work. So how is it possible to bring it in that it will not turn to smart layer? That's my question.
How can you bring it in so that it will not turn to rasterized layer, right?
No, so it will not turn to smart layer.
Okay. So let me also note that down. Smart rasterize is all right. So let's work with those two questions as we continue working with images. Okay. So let's jump right into our first question. So again, today we are looking at working with images, and I have shown you different ways that you can get images online. So I'm going to start the question from that of smart image and rasterized layers. So if you are bringing in a picture, so in this case, let's say I'm bringing in a picture, so I want you to be observant what's going to happen here, okay? And this will be for everybody. Please pay a little amount of attention here, and I want you to observe what is going to happen as I bring in images, especially with the layers. So this is going to be picture one. I'm going to drag this picture into this design, and I want you to notice, what did you see here? It turned it into a layer, right? So it's already made it a layer. So I'm going to click OK, and then I'm going to go to File, New, and this time around, this file, New. So I realized that I was muted and nobody could point my attention to it. Hello?
Yeah, we thought you
I
muted
thought
yourself.
I thought you went. I thought you went somewhere.
Oh boy. Is that right? Those of you that are talking. So now, with this plain background now, I'm going to now try and bring in the picture. So the same picture, I'm going to try and bring it inside the design. Now, you may observe again that the picture is also a layer. Now, so what happens, how does pictures come into a layer, and then when you bring it in, it turns into a smart object, or it requires that you rasterize. Here is what you need to understand. When you edit, let's say you make some adjustment. So in this case, I'm going to choose transform here. Now, by nature, I'm always selecting shift on my keyboard, so I mistakenly clicked shift just now. So let's say this is this here. I'm going to apply this, and then let's say you pick it up and then you edit something. Now, can you see this? Bami Femi, can you see this? Look at, can you see that it's still telling us that because the smart object is not directly editable? Now, the thing that we need to pay attention to will now become let's go and check the other ones that we brought in. When we brought this picture into this layer, was it adjustable? Was it editable? So let's quickly check. Can you see again? Can you see this here? Could not complete your request because the smart object is not directly editable. So this becomes where we now kind of hypothesize the one that is correct, that when you bring an image, particularly based on your version of Photoshop, when you bring in an image, it tries to first of all read your image as a smart object first before it now starts allowing you to do anything you want to do. Should that be a good hypothesis at this point? Should that be a good hypothesis?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So that may be a good hypothesis for us to kind of develop here. Sorry, somebody is saying something. Go on.
What's the difference between a smart layer and adjustable layer? Because on my own, this thing is when I click, it's giving me those two options.
Okay. I don't know. What's your name? And were you in class? Have you been in class before? What's your name?
Kelechi.
Okay. So it's because it's Kelechi that I'm going to answer this question.
Thank you,
and
sir.
The reason why I'm answering this question is because I understand that you are a complete beginner. So if not, if it was somebody else, and actually Kelechi, I think it was one of your pictures that I saw that made me say some things that I said earlier on. I think it was one of your pictures I saw as well. The picture you used, the lighting on that picture was completely different from what was in the background.
Yes.
Good now. So you used the picture that you were wearing, I think, one suit or so, and then the way you edited your picture and all that. So what is the difference between rasterize and smart object? Rasterize, as we saw last week, we saw that rasterize is a picture that you've converted, is a layer that has been converted into kind of editable pixels. While smart object is an object that is still on your design. It's still going to try to maintain its raw form, that is its raw form inside of Photoshop, rather than becoming a pixel that can now be edited. So, for example, making it clear here, what you may observe here is this picture brought into the background here is still a smart object, even though at this side of our screen here, it's still showing like it's a layer, like it's a, okay, you can even see here, so good. Can you see it says smart object thumbnail? So what you will need to understand here is whenever you bring in a picture to Photoshop, particularly depending on the Photoshop version that you are using, if you bring in a picture, you first of all try to see it as an object in your design, in your artboard. So it now begins to work with that object first before it now becomes a rasterized layer, like a pixeled kind of background or a pixel kind of object, rather than it moves it from an object to a pixel. So when it becomes a pixel, at that point, you can do anything you want to do, even though you can still do anything you want to do with a smart object. Just that, based on my own observation, particularly with what we saw last week, when you want to remove the background of a picture, you might not be able to remove the background of a picture if it's still in a smart object format. Do you get that? You might not be able to edit certain things with a smart object. So if you choose some tools, so let's say we choose this fill option here, you see, it might not be able to open up and allow you to fill unless you now make it into a rasterized layer. Kelechi, does that answer your question? Does that answer your question now?
Yes, sir, it does.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Moving from there, how to blend photos. So thankfully that this question is about how to work with images. So now let's Personally, what I wanted to do earlier today was for us to actually create a design, and so that it now becomes a way for us to see how to work with images. So let's use this picture as an example. So let's say you want to blend this picture to a background. Now, first thing first, so for me to be able to work with this photo, what I want to do here is, let me select this layer, come to edit, choose free transform, and then scale down this image. I'm going to scale down this image first. So I'm going to apply that, and then I'm going to select maybe my magic wand to select the background, and then select this as part of that background, select this as well. At this point, I want to take off the background, okay? Are you still with me? At this point, I want to take off the background of this picture. Now, when I select taking off the background, which is delete, it's going to tell me that it's a smart object. So here we go. It is a smart object. So, okay. So how do so from here, what I'll do first will be to right click, and then from here I'm going to choose rasterize layer. Another thing you can also do is to click create clipping mask. All of these are things that you can usually do. Now, rasterize layer is what I'm going to choose here anyway, and then I'm going to delete that background. Can you see that? I've simply taken out that background. You may observe that I did not use feather. Did you notice that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Why did I not use feather? Who can tell me why I did not use feather?
Already it's on the white background, sir.
On a white background, yes.
Good. Those are very good answers. But the other reason why I did not use a feather is not only because it is on a white background. It's because you want to say something? Say it, please.
Yeah, I think because you are using the magic tool, so you are cropping the outside. So to use feather, you have to select the picture itself.
Okay, that's good.
So
I think it's because it does not.
Now I'm going to
clean.
There's no what?
I think it's because the man does not have hairs, and it's better if it's smoother, just clean.
Yeah, exactly. That's the actual answer. Or that's the most correct answer. Because the image itself just looks smooth. There's no complications around the image. So whatever it is we do, we most likely just pass. Do you get it now? Does everybody understand that right now? That's the main reason.
Yes, sir.
So at this point, I'm going to right click.
Yes, sir.
Right clicking, I'm going to click rasterize layer, and then I'm going to delete the background. This time around, I've added some feather. Now look at the feather now. Can you see the feather? Can you see how it simply just cuts off some parts? But again, part of the problem of using magic wand tool sometimes is that it creates all these edges. Can you see white traces? Can you see gray traces on our screen? Can you see gray traces everywhere? So this usually do that. Yes, please.
Yeah, the magic tool has removed some part of the glasses, the left part.
I can't see any removal here.
The left part of the glasses has been deleted. If you bring it back, you see it.
That's interesting. Okay, let me undo. Oh, okay. I can see it now. Thank you for that. So how do you correct that? You simply hold down your alternate key, and using your mark tool, you simply just draw it. So you simply just select that part. Can you see that now?
Please, we do that part again, sir. Please, sir.
Third, I'm so sure that will be Kelechi.
Very, very, very correct, sir. I've been trying that. Anytime I try it, the whole this thing will go off. So I just like, okay, one day I will learn.
So here is what to do next time. When you have used maybe a magic wand tool or any tool and it's removing your background, my best recommendation would be for you to come and use a polygonal lasso tool, and then you zoom in very well, zoom in actually very, very well. Then hold down the alternate key. Once you hold down the alternate key, can you see what this? Can you see the symbol around this mouse? What can you see?
I can see the arrows, sir.
Minus.
Right now. Arrow and what?
Minus.
Okay, good. I like the person that answered. You will see an arrow and a minus when you hold down alternate key. Again, the alternate or shift is going to be dependent on your own particular laptop and your own particular version of Photoshop. If you hold down shift, it's going to mean you want to add to that. When you hold down minus, it means you want to take out from the area that is currently selected. So with that, I can just hold down alternate here and then try and draw out the area of the glasses. And you can see right now, it simply just takes that part out. Kelechi, is that clear?
Very clear, sir. But one more question, sir.
Ask your final question.
Thank you very much, sir. I appreciate you. Sir, before you brought in this image, before you rasterized it, you first of all went to transform and transformed it before you were able to.
The transformation was basically just to increase the size or to reduce the size. That's all.
Exactly.
That's what I did today.
Because I had the same issue yesterday. Okay. I was trying to. I actually removed the background, and when I moved it to a new background, the picture just covered the whole background. So I was like, how do I reduce this picture? I couldn't. So I went back and I reduced the whole document. I resized the whole document.
Oh wow! In that case, what you need to pay attention to is sometimes you come to image and use image size. You can blow up your design or you can reduce your design. Sometimes if you use canvas size, you can also do that. But when you are working on transformation, you want to be sure that you have a particular layer selected. If you are not selecting a layer, if you choose transform, it might not even, imagine I was about to say it might not even be active. So it might not allow you to do the transformation that you want to make. So in order to create the kind of transformation you want to create, you first of all ensure that you select a layer, and then when you choose free transform, you can then increase or reduce or do anything you want to do. Do you understand that now?
Very, very clear, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you for that. So that already answers your question of rasterize and smart photo. Now, in order to answer the question of blending of photo, let me do something here. So this man right here, let's say this is where I want to put his name, and this guy is floating in the air. How do I make this guy blend into that background? And I don't want to take him down here because the design is not going to be looking very fine. So let me show you two different ways that I do that. How many of you are ready for this?
We are ready, sir. Yes, sir.
More than ready, sir. I've been waiting for this.
Very, very good. So tool number one, eraser tool. And I know some people will say, really? That is the first tool at all for creating that effect. So when I say eraser tool, here's what you want to pay attention to. So you want
very ready.
That person answer is coming 5 minutes after we are finished. It's all right. Maybe you are using NTA.
You
may be using glue. So now what we want to do is we want to increase the size, and more importantly, we want to adjust the shape of the design, the shape of the brush. So if you come to general brushes here, you will see different sizes, different lines, different shape, and all that. So what I want to use is a square brush, so dry media brushes. So let's scroll down. In fact, before I start moving, so that I don't go and create what I don't want to create, what I'm looking for is simply a square brush. But then I want to make the square brush. So let's look at special effect. Let's check this special effect. This is not what we're looking for. Okay, so you can even use something like this. Can you see that? This Cars Concept Scratch Blend Smudge Tool. So you can even use something like that. But what I particularly want to use here is okay. So let's try one of these brushes here. This one that has, okay, you can see the effect it's going to create. Now, what I will then do is, that's not what I'm looking for. So I'm going to come back up here and then increase the size, reset this. So reset this, and then I'm going to choose this particular brush size. Come up here. Hardness means how hard you want the edge of the brush to look like, and softness means you can always make it go lighter. So at this point, let me go to my design and let's look at what we are going to create. So in zooming out, first thing I want to do is I want to select, be sure that I'm selecting that layer, and then I simply want to use my eraser tool. Okay, now see the problem. It's brush that I've been using since, and I'm supposed to be editing eraser. Can you see the problem now? That's part of the problem with Photoshop. Sometimes your tool can switch. So here, I'm going to come back here again, increase the brush, choose a glow effect. It has changed to a brush again. So I'm going to choose my eraser again. And this time around, I'm simply going to clean. Now, the edges are too sharp. Can you see that? Can you see how sharp the edges are? Nobody is even answering me. Is anybody here? So it doesn't
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
Yes, sir. Yeah, yes, sir.
Okay, good. So what I will then do is I'll come to this region here. Somebody said I should excuse you, right? Is that what I heard? While we are waiting for you, I'm going to.
Excuse me, sir. Is it the eraser tool you are using or the brush tool? Because I don't understand.
The thing itself is trying to understand your question. Do you get me? So here is what we are trying to do. We want to use eraser tool. Eraser tool simply right now is not working. So tool method number 1 is not working. Am I correct? Eraser tool is simply just cleaning it like this, and it's looking very, very sharp. Am I right, everyone? Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So the second way to do that will be to use maybe a mark tool, or maybe a rectangle mark tool. And then what you want to do is you want to select the area you want to cut, the area you want to trace out. Then you want to right click and increase the feather very, very much. You want to increase the feather to something like 50. And then now you can simply delete. Can you see that? And you can delete as many times till it blends very well.
Sir, please
Hello,
repeat the
Mr.
process,
Dyer.
sir.
Who's talking?
It's Motsurayo.
Okay, please go on.
Yes. Please, I want to make an announcement. Hello, everyone. The closing attendance has been posted, and it will be closing by 4. Please, so make sure you sign. And if you don't have the chat box icon, you can message your class rep to send it to you. Thank you. Yeah, you can continue. Thank you, Mr. Dyer.
Thank you, Ms. Muturayo.
That
So with
form is
that,
closed. I just click on it. The form is closed. I just click on it now. Sorry to Got it, sir.
I'll check on that now. Thank you.
Okay, so for those who said they did not get what I did, I said first thing first, you want to ensure that you select your layer. Sometimes, actually in the past, what I've used to do that before has been eraser, because with eraser I have full control over what I'm cleaning off. And as you can see yourself, even eraser with the tool, the way it's showing up here, it's showing that I can actually clean everything up. But is that right? Sometimes Photoshop can do its own magic. So
Yeah.
in that case, if it's not going to work, am I continuing or I'm still sorrying?
Okay, sorry. I wanted to say that the eraser tool, I think why it was so sharp is because the hardness of the brush was at 100%. So maybe if you reduce the hardness of the brush and try it again, it will just come out as you want it.
Okay. Thank you for that. So that's Raymond, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. So before we jump into correcting that, let's work with the mark tool that I just showed everybody right now. So now with the mark tool, what you want to do is you want to ensure that you select the place you want to cut off. So let's say this is the area you want to cut off. Let's say you want to cut off this edge like this. You want to make this edge blend in. Then you can right click and select feather, or you can simply type your feather up here. In this case, I'm going to choose right click and then I'm going to feather, and then I'm going to make it maybe 50, and then I'm going to click OK. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to press delete maybe 1, 2, 3 times. So let's look at it. First time 1, second time 2, third time 3. And as at right now, it looks to be blending into that background. So now if I choose and I pour a color in this background right now, can you see how it now blends into that background? Can everybody see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So that's one way. Now for the eraser that we tried earlier on that did not work, according to what Raymond suggested, that we should adjust the hardness. Now the interesting thing with the hardness, let's go and look for that hardness adjustment. So for adjusting the hardness, opacity, flow, this is air flow rate for stroke, this is airbrush style, this is smoothing, this is label history, this is always hard pressure for size, cell symmetry for paint. Okay, so let me try this then. Let me try this opacity. Let me set it to 50, and then let's try and clean this item. What's happening? Oh, sorry. So let's clean this up. Okay, that's not working still. So our transparency needs to be set back to 100. Now for this flow, let's set it to maybe 50, and then let's try it. Nope. So that's not going to work. So smoothing. So again, with the eraser selected, look at the option here, soft surround. Okay, I think that's exactly what we're looking for. Soft round, but the problem again, it has switched to brush. It has switched to brush. So let's look at it again. Let's look at again hardness here. So let's open the hardness. Let's open it to 0 as is suggested, and then let's clean it up. Oh, very good. So that's the hardness finally. So did anybody get what we just did? Do you want me to repeat it again?
Please repeat it, sir.
Yes, sir. Please repeat it.
Okay. So with the eraser tool right now, you want to come up to your menu here, and then you want to adjust your hardness. This is where you have hardness. Hardness originally was at 100%. That's the reason why it was giving us very sharp edge. Now I'm bringing it down to 0%. So that way you should be able to blend into that background. So this with just one stroke, you can actually create the transparency that you are trying to create. And if you choose, you can now fill this background with maybe a color like this. So are we clear now? Do you all understand now?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good. Moving from that, let's move to the text, which is the third part. Now for text sometimes can appear tricky. The reason why it appears tricky is because sometimes in order to create certain effects with the text, you might have to actually rasterize the layer, but sometimes you don't need to. So in this place, let's type a name. And for this name, I'm simply going to type now. I don't know why these options came up, but it's okay. Let me type. This point out type, let's say type Shegun. I want to change the color to white. I want to change the font type to, let me use a bold font here. And I'm going to be using Montserrat. So Montserrat, where are you? Montserrat is up here. So Montserrat, and then let me choose the black type of Montserrat. So this is Montserrat right here. For size, I can just simply click 72 to increase the size. And then I can select OK. It's loading. Okay, now I have to move to, I have to change to move to. Now at this point, the size is too big, so this is where Control T comes in and then transform it, reduce the size, bring it back up. Now, how do you do the layer, that's 3D effect? In order to do that, there are two ways, or let me just say there's only one way, and that one way will be to come to, if you come up to 3D here, you might not be able to get what you're actually looking for. So one of the ways to actually do that is when you now start working with the number of layers that you have. So if you right click here, you will see some things that you can do. So you can see different options here when you right click. So let me zoom back out. When you right click like this, you see all these different layers, all these different options here. Now, in order to be able to get the result we're looking for, I want to duplicate this layer. So I want to duplicate that layer so that I have a copy separated. So that's this layer here now. I'm hiding this layer here. So this is the layer I'm going to work with. Now, right click and I'm going to choose blending options. And then with these blending options, this is where I can now begin to create some magic here. And by the way, this is part of what we should be getting into this week, so that we can actually look at how all of these blending options work. So in case this appears new to you, not to worry. Please allay your fears right now. We will get to those ones this week. But to get that bevel, this embossed, that 3D style that you saw in that design I gave you, and interestingly, I actually gave you to see how many people were going to be able to crack their way through. Some people did, some people were not able to do. Some people actually cropped the previous picture and just used it in their design. I actually saw some people who cropped, so they cut out the text and using their design. So here is the first thing you want to do. You want to use this bevel and emboss. Now this bevel and emboss, if you look down here at this image, you see that it's kind of showing some elements of 3D right now. So I'm going to turn it up back. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
So now you can then come to starting to adjust the, you can begin to adjust the contour. So here, if I adjust it this way, can you see that? Can you see the effect this is creating on what I'm doing?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good. You
Yes,
can
sir.
also adjust it here, so you can always adjust it here. For me, I don't like when it's very sharp like that, so I usually use something that is soft. So sometimes I use something like this, or I use something like this, or I use something like this. It all depends on the effect that you are trying to create. Okay. There's no right and wrong thing in design. It depends on what you particularly are trying to create. So if this is what I want here, then texture, this is where I can now add the surface. So you can have something like this. So you can have maybe this, you can have this, you can have this. Can you see how everything is changing now? Can you see how it's taking shape? Can you see how it's taking form? But me personally, I may not use this texture. So that's one way. You can create an element of satin here. So if you want to create an element of satin, you can always adjust colors. You can also adjust all these different things here to create all those effects that you were seeing. Do you understand what I'm doing here? So this is how, so once you select OK, it becomes a text for you to walk around and manipulate, and this is now your 3D text effect. Does that answer your question? Who was the person that asked that question earlier on? Does this answer your question?
No, sir, it doesn't.
Okay, so ask your question again so that we understand that it doesn't answer our question.
Okay, sir. In your own design, I noticed that the text had this extrusion on it.
Yes.
And I get the bevel clearly, but the extrusion is what I don't get.
The extrusion, that straight line that went inside this thing, right?
Yes, sir.
Inside the text.
Yes,
that's
sir.
what you meant by the extrusion, right?
Yes, the extrusion that made it look like it like it projected.
Like it was raised off the page.
Yes, sir.
That's where you now begin to work on all of these things here now. Like I told you, that's part of what we are going to be getting into this week. But that's when you begin to work into some of these things. So maybe inner glow, outer glow, inner shadow, outer shadow, color valley, all those things, you now begin to play around them. So for example, if I choose this drop shadow here, you most likely see the shadow that was underneath the text. And you see that, and I can increase the distance between the text. So if I want to put maybe, let's say I want to make that, what's the name? Let me look at, okay. Let me just create some things here. But you probably observe as I'm adjusting that these are things that will basically be dependent on you and not necessarily what I did and what I did not do. So there are plenty things that you can adjust. So you can also adjust the size here. You can adjust the range the same way I adjusted all those things just now. You can always adjust all of these here. So do you get now? All of that is totally dependent on you. So this contour here for me, it's actually too sharp. So for me, I'll most likely still reduce it so that it's still very, very faint so that you may not even notice it. And if you click anti-alias, it alters the design still and still changes it. Do you understand what I'm explaining right now? So this is stroke inside. You can have who did something the other day that I was telling the person that the person used outer stroke. So for example, you can put a stroke around the design like this, where's the size, and then you can see that the stroke is basically inside right now. Are you getting what I'm explaining? Do you understand me now?
Yes, sir.
Those ones are totally dependent on you. So the position can be outside. So you can put the position outside now. This now becomes yellow outside this text here. And you can adjust the opacity, you can increase the size, you can decrease the size. All of those is dependent on
please. Can you explain again?
Again, today is not the day for blending mode. I mentioned that before I went into this. Am I correct?
Sir, I have a question.
I already mentioned that I think that should be, let me look at my schedule here, that there's a day this week that we are basically just going to be working with this blending mode. In fact, that's all that we're going to be doing that day. And that day happens to be Wednesday. So Wednesday, we are basically working on effects and blending modes for pictures. So how to create effect, how to create blending, all these things. Those are things that we are going to be working on Wednesday. I just said to answer the question of the text, that's the reason why I want to go and show you this. Because right now, it can confuse you if it's not at the level you've gotten to yet. If your question is about this blending mode and these texts that I've worked on right now, I'm not going to answer it. So your question can be
it's not actually about the blending mode.
Very good. So go ahead and ask your question.
Okay. Last night while I was trying to play around that blending mode.
Yeah.
So on that drop shadow,
yep.
I clicked on those. The shadow is not giving me the effect I want. So I now clicked on the positive icon in front of it. So the shadow is now too much. I tried to delete what I did. So probably I mistakenly deleted the original dropped shadow icon, and I've not been seeing it since yesterday. And that was how I did with one icon like that one day. I've not seen them up to today.
Now, I very much understand what you experienced. You created shadow, and you can't see your shadow again because you mistakenly deleted it. That's your question, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so next time when you observe something like that, come up here. Can you see my icon here? Can you see my icon here?
Yes, I can see it.
Why are you laughing? Why are you laughing now? So you can always scroll up and check the history that you've made. So for example, this second here, I want to take off everything, or I mistakenly deleted something. You can simply just come back up here and you can restore or recall what you did. Again, my recommendation, and as you may observe what I did when I was starting this design, the moment I knew I was going to work on some things, what did I do? I simply duplicated my layer, made one invisible while the other one is visible. Because Photoshop you can run. Huh? Is that?
No, I think you are not getting what I'm saying. Where you went to the other time while you are trying to explain how to create that 3D effect.
Yes.
Those listed stuffs like drop shadow, outer glow. I mistakenly deleted the drop shadow gongo.
You mistakenly deleted the option. Is that what you mean?
Yes, the option. And I've not been seeing it again.
Back. You simply come back here. Come down to this option here.
Okay.
These effects here. You see all of them down here. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, but the question too was not clear that you deleted it from the menu. That was not clear from your own question.
Okay.
Does that answer your question? Or can you see that it's here?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It does.
Good.
Thank you.
Clear communication will always lead to clear result. Okay.
All right.
So at this point, I'm not sure there are any other questions that should be answered. For the person of 3D text. Yes. Who is that, please?
It's Dorcas. Please, I have a question. When I tried doing the 3D yesterday, I used the new 3D extrusion from the selected layer. And after I clicked and made some adjustments, it said I should render, and it took some minutes, but I didn't achieve what I wanted to do.
I thought that you said you used new 3D extrusion from selected layer.
Yes, sir.
That's from the menu hub where I am right now, right? Is that what you mean?
Yes, I right-clicked on the text, but I think it's also up there.
Okay. Okay, I'm listening. I'm listening. I did not get your question, no.
Okay, I said I use the new 3D expression, and I got that when I tried doing the 3D from there, they said something about rendering, so I didn't quite understand what they meant by that.
Okay. So the 3D up here is completely different from the style of text that we did just now. 3D up from here is actually a completely different type of 3D. This one is not, this is actually a real 3D where you begin to tilt, like, how should I explain it now? You can rotate, maybe you have an object on your screen, you can rotate it, look at it from the side, look at it from the side, do all of that. That's what that 3D layer, that 3D option up here, that's what it means. Personally, I hardly use that because I don't do 3D. The days that I learned that that's what it meant were the days of me working with, what's the name? What's the name of this software that we were using in those days when I was doing? You said what?
CorelDRAW?
Not CorelDRAW. It's a software that is used for 3D.
AutoCAD.
Huh?
AutoCAD. AutoCAD.
AutoCAD. AutoCAD.
AutoCAD.
Okay, yes, it's actually similar to AutoCAD, but this one particularly, because in my department then,
Cinema
we worked on ceramic, so they introduced that to us. I'm trying to remember something 3D. Cinema 4D.
Yes, Cinema 4D.
Thank you. Yes,
Exactly.
it was Cinema 4D. So it was when we were doing Cinema 4D then that I got to know that this 3D layer is meant for things like that. You will hardly ever actually really need to come here to come and do things like that, except you want to go into more advanced, very, very advanced level stuff in Photoshop. Do you get it now? So I might not be able to answer that question for you that you went here, but please, from this option here, if you selected this, if you select maybe 3D, let's see, can you see 3D here? There's no 3D option from here. Okay, new 3D extrusion from selected layer. So let's try it. So I've selected that, new 3D extrusion from layer. Let's see what it's going to give us. It's loading, it's loading, it's loading, it's loading. Okay, you're about to create a 3D layer. Would you like to switch to the 3D workspace? Can you see this?
Yes, sir.
Is this what he asked you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now, the 3D workspace is a completely different interface. And that interface, you can always see it down under this window here. So if I click yes, you will see that there's a switch happening. And you may probably just look at the Photoshop and say, this is not the Photoshop that I know, but it has always been there. So you remember I mentioned to you earlier on that this is used for very advanced stuff. So look at, can you see what I have on screen right now? So if I select this Shegun here,
yes, sir.
you can rotate. So you can rotate this way. You can make all these adjustments happen. But again, all these are ancient style designs. So you can't, if you are trying to do a design right now and you are doing something like this, except you are doing animation. If it's animation that you are doing, if it's animation, you can create all these ones. You can simply come here. You can even add the color of light. You can add the color of light. You can add perspective, all those things. You can adjust those ones if that is what you are trying to create. But if that's not what you're trying to create, why are you not coming here? Why are you not giving yourself a headache? Am I clear with my answer now? Do you now understand that?
Yes, sir.
So please, except you are trying to create a 3D, except you are really, really trying to create a 3D design or a 3D except you're really trying to create a 3D work. That is, your work is going to be exported as 3D. You may not necessarily need to do all of that. So now again, in order to restore what I have done, I simply come back to up here, and I simply come back to move, and then it simply restores it back to where it was originally. Katiko, yes or no?
Question, sir.
Yes, please.
Sir, earlier when you started the class, you started with the fonts, how to get a font. Then I was in a bus, so and the noise from the background, I didn't get that. My question is because the version of Photoshop I'm using, I don't have much fonts. So if we go to that font website to download, is it that when we download the font, it will automatically enter Photoshop? As in Photoshop will automatically pick it up, or we still need to do some other things to install it? I don't understand, sir.
Please, what's your name?
Kelechi, sir.
Thank you very much. Please clap for yourself for asking that question. Why I'm saying you should clap for yourself is because the moment you said it now, it just became obvious to me that, wait, I actually did not explain what you are meant to do when you come to a website like this. So thank you for bringing that to my attention. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to walk you through how to actually install fonts. Because once you download a font, the font will sit down on your laptop and it's going to be gathering dust. Just like every other file on your laptop may be gathering dust. So if this is a font that you like right now, this butterfly font, if you come to the side of the screen here and click download, it's going to start downloading almost instantly. You will see it somewhere down here. Can you see the butterfly font now being downloaded? It's been downloaded. Your next option will be to open up that zip. Interesting. My WinRAR has updated itself. That's very interesting. Now, I must mention that there are two types of font when you download fonts. There is open type font and there's true type font. The two of them work differently. So, for example, some of them, the way I should explain it right now would be that TTF usually works on, I think true type fonts work is vast. I think that's the word I should use to describe it. True type font is vast. Open type font, I don't want to say it's limited, but sometimes it doesn't work in certain softwares. Okay, so true type font, open type fonts, those are things to pay attention to. But then let me not complicate things for you. I'm going to install these fonts here. So in order to infont, you simply double click. It tries to open it up this way. Do you get that? Now, what you do next is to come to this option here. Kelechi, can you see that?
It's loading, sir. Okay, yes, I can see that, sir.
So you click on this install, then your installation begins. So once the installation is complete, you will see that the pop-up that came up will simply just leave your screen. It means that font has been installed. Now, the challenge is that in order for Photoshop, what is the name of that font? The name of that font is what? Butterfly, right? So let's try and type font here. And this time around, I'm going to write, so let's say Nina. Okay, so let's say Nina. So this time around, let me bring the size of the font to 120. Okay, so let me say I'm bringing it to 70. Okay, so with this, let me now move this font. I'm trying to bring it where everybody can see it. If that is wasting my time, I can simply use transform, quickly bring it down, press enter, and then move it here. So with this font here, now I want to change the font name to that butterfly. So I'm going to select the font, and then I'm going to go to my font list up here, and then let me now type butterfly and see if butterfly is going to show up. Everybody, can you see the butterfly up here?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
so this time around, the Photoshop quickly picked it up, right? Sometimes, depending on the type of font, sometimes your software will not pick it up instantly. You might have to shut down the software or restart the software. Not to restart your laptop, or restart the software in order for the software to actually pick up that font. Do you get it now?
Yes,
So if you
sir.
choose that now, that now becomes the font that you can now use. So this inner here now becomes the new font for our design. Kelechi, does that answer your question? Yes or yes?
Yes and yes.
Good. So if you go to search websites, please look at the kind of fonts you are looking for. Again, remember that there are 3 classes of fonts. Let me see if I can find my branding slides here and use that to kind of serve as a reminder for you guys. So let me see if I can use this to serve as a reminder when you're downloading fonts. There are basically 3 categories of fonts. All fonts in this entire world can be boxed into 3, can be classed into 3 boxes. First box is serif. Serif are types of fonts that have edges. Sans are fonts that don't have edges. The third is called script. Script fonts are the types of font that you can see on screen right now. This Nina is a script. And this press ESC here, this is a sans. Are we clear on that?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Always have that in mind. Depending on who you are designing for, if you are designing for children, then you can make your fonts more okay. So if you are designing for children, of course, using a script font will make sense. If you are designing for adults, using script will not make sense, except if it is stylish. So again, everybody, can you see my screen here?
Yes.
So you are considering your choice of fonts. You have just these 3 types. You have serif, you have script, and you have sans. Serif have edges. They are fonts like Times New Roman, Cambria. Script are the type of font that we just installed right now, and sans are the type of font that I was using earlier on, Montserrat, Roboto. Those are the type of fonts. Meriwether, for example, is a type of serif font. So I also mentioned, in case Kelechi did not get that, I also mentioned that sometimes when you are confused as what kind of font should you use, you can come to a website like fontpair.co and you can look at all the font combinations they have and kind of make your choice from there. So Laura and Meriwether, everybody, based on what I just told you now, what category of font are these two fonts?
Serif.
Serif.
Please clap for yourself.
Serif.
Sharif.
Only Sharif. It's Rashid. Sharif. So looking at this font here, what type of font do you think this is?
Sans.
Oh, interesting. Can you see? Can you even see the name? You already carrying sans. So as you are doing your design, you will always see different options. So you can see domain and roboto. So in this case now, domain, looking at these 2 fonts, which of them? Oh, the answer is on the screen. No. So if you look at this combination here, you can see somewhere around the heading is domain, while the body is roboto. The heading is a serif, while the body is what? A sans. So sometimes you can always look at those and use that to kind of guide your design so that you know that when you are designing, you know the kind of fonts to combine and you use them as more like inspiration for design. So Let me look at, there's a day that we're supposed to do typography. Oh, I have a call by 5 o'clock. Wow. That call by 6 o'clock. Wow. Okay. So tomorrow when we are working with gradients and professional color schemes, tomorrow, please, somebody should remind me on how to do, even though we covered it in Canva, but tomorrow, please, somebody should, Raymond or Emilekun, one of you should remind me of how to use fonts. That is how to, not fonts, typography and design. That is, just say typography and design, just remind me typography and design tomorrow. And what I mean is this. So let me show you an example of designs that. Let me see if I can find a design that actually used a lot of typography to communicate. Let me see if I can find that. But at this point, if you have questions, please go ahead and ask your questions. At this point, I think we are done with today's class.
Sorry.
So everybody, just before you ask your question, in case you want to ask a question, again, I apologize that I was away for a quick while when this class started. There was an emergency that I had to attend to, but I think I'm back now and I'm good to go.
Welcome, sir. Your voice is even clearer now than when you started, sir.
Yes, because the GISN was still going on that time.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'm allowed.
Class still holds. Huh? Who is talking?
Yeah.
Sit here. Who is talking? You said something. Say it. Let me hear.
Okay, it's me. It's Raymond, sir.
Okay, go on.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm allowed to address the. There was a guy that asked a question about the 3D, the elevation in the level and emboss that was on that design.
Okay, you have been using Photoshop since, so go ahead and answer.
Okay, so that effect was not achieved with 3D. It was achieved with drop shadow. So when you click drop shadow, you can decide to check the distance or how long you want the drop shadow to be. So when you do it like that, you can now go to layer and create a separate layer of that shadow. So when you create a separate layer of that shadow, you can now start adding all those black fading to white effects and all those other manipulations that you had on the text. So if you go to 3D to try to achieve that, it's going to give you a totally different result. You understand? So you create the drop shadow, manipulate it, create the distance you want and everything. Then you now go there, right click on that effect, because anytime you apply that blending option effect, it shows the effect beside that layer. Now you right click on that effect, you will see something like create layer. So you are creating a separate layer of that effect. So when you now that effect will appear as a separate layer, you can now work on it as a layer. It's no longer an effect. You can now work on it as a layer. Add maybe what is it called again? Blending mode or any kind of thing you want to add to it, any kind of other effect. So that is probably how it was achieved, not by 3D at all. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much for that. And I'm glad that you could explain that clearly. The person that asked the question, I hope your question is answered now. By next week, Thursday, we'll look at how to design book covers. Next week as well, we'll also look at how to design business card. We'll look at how to create a logo. I'm going to actually teach you what guides how I approach logo design. So this week, we are basically walking through so from tomorrow, we'll be going into a little bit of intermediate level of Photoshop from tomorrow. Again, let me confirm here. Raymond, were you able to share this thing with the group last week, the playlist that I sent to you?
No, I've not shared it. I've not shared it.
Oh, I mentioned it on Friday that you should share, that you can go ahead and share with them.
Okay, I'll do it right away. I'll do it right.
Okay, so share it with them in the Telegram group. Now, I was mentioning typography. This is how typography actually works. If you look at this design right now, you'll notice that this design is basically created out of text. All of the entire is only, I think there are only three rectangles in the entire design, but everything is just text. Can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
sir.
Yes. That should be Muturaya's voice. So at this point, I'm done. Everybody will meet tomorrow. Miss Muturaya has an announcement. Please go on and make your announcement.
Okay, so I just want to inform everyone that concerning the document of the companies they'll be working on, like making designs for and stuff, they'll get it today by 5 p.m. So when they get the document, they should just search for their own names and pick their companies, so they can start working on this from this evening tomorrow. So their assignments will be centered on those companies. Like any designs they want to make will be centered on those companies.
So you're not available for our call today.
Please, are you sending it on email?
Sorry, what did you say?
The document, are we going to receive it in our email or on the Telegram group?
It will be sent to the Telegram group.
Okay.
So it will be sent to the general group, and then you get it on the general group, and you can look through for your own name and the company you are assigned to.
Thank you.
Do you understand?
I do, ma. Thank you, ma.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you, sir.
Hello, can I ask a question, please?
Yes,
Hello?
please, you can.
Okay, so please, I want to know, is it possible that we can have this training released to YouTube as soon as possible, so that even we can, some parts that we mix or we don't understand, we can rewatch and learn better?
Very, very important too.
Yes, I've shared it already. I just shared it now.
So what are you asking for?
Today's training class, if it can be sent immediately, so we can download it and go over it again.
And watch it again so that we can understand better.
Okay, so as soon as that is uploaded, there will be an announcement on the Telegram group chat. Yeah, you get it.
I will appreciate if we can have that maybe every day too, so that in case we miss anything, because we need to speed up our learning.
Sorry, but do you go to the YouTube page? Do you go to Codetutor YouTube page? All
Yes,
other videos except today has been on the page.
Yes, I go there, but it's not released as immediately. So, and you have sometimes some of the trainings they'll ask us to do an assignment, and sometimes you are lost and you want to learn something that you missed. So we really appreciate if you can help us ensure that it's released immediately as soon as possible on YouTube, so that we can watch again. Thank you.
I want to say that the YouTube video for day 7 and day 8 for the afternoon videos, it's not yet been uploaded. It's only morning session that was uploaded. For day 7 and day 8.
All other days aside today has been uploaded, sir. So please do well to check the YouTube page well and
yes. It's only you uploaded day 6 twice.
I think 7, 8, and 9 has been uploaded, sir.
I think I downloaded
only morning section. Day 7 you uploaded. There was an upload of day 6 twice. Then day 7 and day 8 there was no afternoon section. Only morning section are available. Please check. Day 6 was uploaded twice. morning session was uploaded twice.
I think I have the 8 and 9 with me. I think I've downloaded the 8 and
I'm
9.
sorry, but the videos I can very well assure you that the videos are there. The 8 and 9, the things you're asking for, they are all on the YouTube page. So please do well to check the YouTube page well and be sure before you make a complaint, please. Thank you. Anyone has any question again?
Hello, Mr.
Yes.
Hello, Mr. So we were talking about having a company assigned to you. Okay, so I'm new here and I don't know if my name is assigned to you.
Sorry, can you say that again?
Okay, I said we were talking about the company being assigned to you. Because I said I'm new here and I don't know if the company is
Sorry, what's your name?
Hello?
Is this Eniola Alex speaking?
Yes, this is another.
Okay, so I was talking about the. Okay, since you are saying this, you are new here. When we first started, we made it known to everybody that they'll be assigned some complaints that they'll be working on personally. Like you go to their YouTube page, check what their design has been like, and then their Instagram page, check what their design has been like, and then you follow suit and start designing for them, tagging GIZ, tagging Codetutor on everywhere you post it, tagging Mr. Dyer Samuel, and all those kind of things. So that's why I'm saying will be sent to Telegram group this evening by 5 p.m. and everyone will check for their names. Yes, so if you if you fill the attendance today, you definitely get a company assigned to your name. Are we good,
Okay.
sir?
I was not sure. Okay, so I'm so clear about that, but I was not able to fill the opening attendance. I was able to fill the closing attendance. Do you think my name will be visible to the the facilitator?
Sorry, why were you able to fill the opening attendance?
I said I wasn't able to fill the closing attendance. Asking if my
So you
name
were able to. Sorry?
Attendance.
But you were able to fill the closing attendance, right?
Yes.
Okay, I understand that. We'll see what can be done. So when you fill the attendance, you'll get a company assigned to you today. Is that understood, sir?
Yes, very well. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Does anyone else have a question?
Yes, I'm in the same situation. I was trying to rename my signature. In the process, I had issues with the network, and before I could submit, the attendance has been taken away. So I'm having the same issue, but I was able to fill the closing attendance.
But you were okay. Sorry about that. I really have no control over the time the attendance closes. But please do make sure that anything you have, like any issue, please resolve it before the class so that we don't have to go through this process over and over again. So make sure your signature is working. Also, you can, once you've signed the attendance once and you've uploaded the signature to your drive, you don't have to upload it every time. You can get it from your drive. So
I didn't know. I had to rename today. I want to advise, I want to plead that you give us time. At times we have network issue. Like in my area, I have serious network issue. I have to come out of my place to, just to get the network. And at the end of the day, if that was what happened to last week, I couldn't submit my attendance, and I was in class. beginning to the end.
Okay, sorry about that. We'll see what can be done to that.
Mrs. Motun, Miss Motun,
Yeah, I'm
some of
listening
these
to you.
vital informations could just be typed and just pinned to Telegram or something. So people will check and see if they are following rules and certain principles that you guys check. Because from Mr. Michael's explanation and some of the things he has said, you look for some criteria that you use in judging some things. So some things you consider vital, you could just make them a message that you could just pin to Telegram and people would see and they'll follow the rules like that.
Okay, thank you for your observation. Thank you for your contribution. Thank you for your suggestion.
Please stop. Please, sorry, I wasn't able to. I make the closing attendance.
Okay, sir, so I'm sure I don't know, but I announced earlier when I posted the closing attendance that once it's 4, the closing attendance will be closed, because by now the class is even meant to be over. The class ends by 4 and not by 4:25, sir. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Hello, sorry, Motu. Hello?
Yes.
Okay, so did you say the attendance has closed? Because I don't know, this thing is always happening with this attendance. Like someone just said, the network like everywhere is like really crazy, and I didn't even hear when you posted it. And it's so annoying when you stayed like the whole day and then you don't get to sign. So I feel like you guys should either check the time or I don't know, do something about it because it's annoying. Yeah, if it has closed, because my network has been going on and off, and I didn't even hear when you even said it or posted it or whatever. And now you just said it has closed. And this is like the second time it is happening to me.
Sorry, please, may I know who is speaking?
Praise is speaking, praise.
Okay, thank you. I'll take note of your name. Sorry about that, but in case you can also make sure you ask I have some people on Telegram who asked that is there no attendance yet or is there no attendance today, and they have other people tell them that attendance has been posted and they send them the link. So I can't keep coming and distracting the tutor. So once I post the attendance and make the announcement, I don't want to come back here and disturb you guys learning. Do you understand that? So that's why I just make the announcement once, and so I expect you to communicate with your classmates so that they can be shared information, like well distributed information. I hope you understand me.
Excuse me, Miss
Be
Motun.
good evening.
Good evening. Please, the attendance they want to rename our signature. So that took time uploading. And before I could finish uploading my signature, the attendance had closed.
Okay, sorry about that, but we'll work on that next time. We'll work on the attendance next time.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
I'll go to my drive and take my signature.
Hello, everyone.
The signature and the
Hello, can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Hi, Mr. White. We can hear you.
Okay, so I can see that there are a couple of people that couldn't fill attendance today. So you know what we'll do is we'll give a waiver for today. Is it waiver or waiver? Waiver for today, right? So the closing attendance is going to be opened again. So you fill, and the next 10 minutes is going to be taken down. But it's not going to happen after today, right? So next time, what you should do is keep watch of the time. Once it's 3:30, you should be expecting the closing attendance. If you don't even receive it, you should ask. Once it's 4 o'clock, once it's 4:10, you should have the opening attendance. Once it's 1:10 rather, 1:10. By 1:10, you should have the opening attendance. By 3:30, you should have the closing attendance. If you don't have it, you should ask so that we don't have things like this. Classes close by 4, not 4:30. Right, so the closing attendance will be open again, so you can just fill it.
All right, is that fine?